And we're live. Welcome to Earful of Dirt, the Major League Rugby podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Aaron Castro. I'm joined this week by Victor and Dan. They're in NYC. It didn't snow today, but it did flood their subway. Josh in Denver, who is riding in a new Dodge Challenger. And then Corey Munson, still living it up in the great winter of Iowa. I think the tundra is still frozen. Hit him up on Twitter, hashtag EODpod, at Earful of Dirt, for questions and, comments. Get after it, How's your week been, guys?
Awesome!
Yeah, pretty good. Mets are second best record in the Major League Baseball. I'm actually currently trying to watch the score at the same time, and they're beating the Nationals, so I'm happy about that. If you can't tell, I love watching baseball.
As far as
I'm from the DC area, so.
Oh, really?
As far as the Mets are concerned, you can beat the Nationals all you want. Go Angels on the West Side.
You're not a D-backs fan?
I'm getting there. They're every time they go to LA this season, they're just beating the snot out of the Dodgers, and I just can't be happier about that.
Trust me, as New Yorkers, we too, because we hate the Dodgers.
They ditched us.
Never forget.
So did the Giants.
They left Brooklyn. We still have that.
So did the Giants.
Yes, exactly. We also hate them too.
Don't really
Not as much, but we definitely hate the Dodgers. I definitely do as a Met fan.
Yeah.
Let's talk rugby.
Yeah, let's get back into rugby.
So, for those new to the podcast, each Monday night we discuss news and rumors from Major League Rugby, the United States Professional Rugby Union competition. It's a chance to discuss the issues, hear from the league, team leadership, with our friends across the U.S. rugby season. We've got a review, guys. Thank you for the 5-star review. Aggie Rugger 2010. Hey, Nick, inbox me. I will send you your hat. You won the MLR hat that we were giving. The first one we're giving away. I mean, I'm giving away mine. I think, Dan, are you giving away yours?
Yeah, I'm giving mine away. I'm not a hat person. My head's way too big.
So Nick, send in the deets, and I'll get that on your way in the next, month. Probably a couple days, but so Major League Rugby is let's get to the title. The podcast for Major League Rugby news, views, and abuse. 5 stars. Major League Rugby is here at long last. Aaron, Victor, Josh, and Dan do a great job to share their unique perspective from around the country and provide quality insight into development around the league. If you are interested in professional rugby in the United States, this is the podcast for you. Inside information and behind-the-scenes interviews punctuate their weekly podcast and give a comprehensive view of Major League Rugby. Side note, shout out to Corey for producing the show and creating RML Rugby, which has become my first stop on the internet every day. Thanks, Nick, for your wonderful review. As you know, we're trying to climb the charts, as they say. So every time you leave a 5-star review, we'll try to hook you up if we got stuff to hook you up with. And Nick has scored an MLR hat. Dan, what do we got this week?
So coming up this week, not too much really went down over the weekend. All the teams are really kind of prepping up for first game finally coming up next week. So we're going to do a bit of previews. It's just some simple stuff, really looking at what we think the attendance is going to be like, the television ratings, on-field success for the overall league, who we think the best teams are going to be, really just kind of some simple analysis of that. So that's all I got. What do we got?
So what are you guys' attendance projections? Because what is a success for you? And you got to look at this is that the smallest stadium in the league will be Shaw Stadium, with which can hold a max of 2,500 seated, and I think they'll sell a bunch of standing room tickets for when they sell out the seats. But so that's the smallest, and then the largest goes up to 6K between Torero and Dyer Stadium, and then the other ones are between like 3,000 and 5. I think Zion's and Infinity Park is 5. Starfire is listed at 4,500 and can be expanded to 7. And then Round Rock will be 2,800, I believe, with their expanded seating.
Well, we know first things first is Seattle actually sold out. First of all of their season tickets, which I think is around 1,800 that they put up. They said that the total seating was actually around 3,000, so I'm not really sure what to believe. They did put up an extra 500 seats for this first game coming up, which I think they've gotten close to selling out or have sold those out. But really, just looking at the numbers, I think that we can hit 2,500, 3,000. I think the only reason why I'm saying 2,500 is because some of the stadiums would bring that down a bit, just because it can't physically hold more than 2,000, so it's kind of tough to keep that average. What do you guys think for the average for the year, for the whole league? Anyone can say something.
So we go into pro. They were about 1,700, right? I mean, I want to see certain markets sell out based on like the success they've had. So Houston, it would be great to have 4,000 to 6,000 every game. I think they'll probably average like 3,500 based on all the work they've done. Club rugby is ending, so their matches should be well attended by the rugby community. And then I really want to see the small stadiums affected. I want to see teams going into New Orleans and it just being raucous and just, a huge hometown, intimate, loud structure.
Yeah, well, actually, you mentioned pro, and I actually looked at the very official numbers from Wikipedia. So I think it was 1,700 overall for the league, and this is really the best comparison we can use to really figure this out. However, pro started a lot quicker, didn't have as much run up, and had a lot more people on the ground in all the cities. I'm sorry, MLR has a lot more people on the ground in each of the cities. Definitely not the case with pro. But there were 2 cities that were the same in both pro and MLR, Denver and San Diego. I guess technically Glendale. So Denver Stampede were the number 2 overall with an average of 1941 and a high of 2346. It is important to know, though, that they left Infinity Park about halfway through the season for Cyberfield, which can only hold about 1,900. So I think they would have gotten a bit more than that. They didn't have that whole switch. San Diego is number 3 with an average of 1916 and a high of 2,500. So they're both very similar with around 1,900. And like we said, there really wasn't that much run-up before the league took off. So I think that both of those areas, especially because they're playing in the same stadiums, can really get much more than that on average with the amount of promotion they've done there.
I think 2,500 should be the benchmark. Like, that's the number you want to hit. I think realistically they can shoot for 75 to 80% of capacity. Sellouts are great, but I don't think it's going to happen the first season.
What's the size on Infinity Park? Like the exact size,
5.
do you know?
So
It's 5 to 6.
It says 5 on the internet.
But I've seen multiple people say 6.
Yeah, so I mean it's concrete bench seating, so I guess if you stuff it,
Then you can always stuff people into the bars and the plazas too.
You can get that's. I was actually wondering. I wonder if they're going to do any kind of standing room only kind of deals in some of these stadiums. Just basically have, if there's a courtyard area or a bar or The best example I could think of is Gaelic Park, which isn't MLR, but they have the stand and then there's the bar, courtyard area, picnic area right next to it. I wonder if they do like a standing room only thing where you can only stand near the bar, which I guess is a terrible thing, only standing next to the bar. You can watch the game from there, but it's a cheaper seat and it's basically like an overflow. I wonder if any of these can actually do that.
So the way Torero's set up, I think you could end up doing standing room only.
They got beer garden in the north end.
And you got beer garden on the.
I think it's the north end.
On the east end, and a beer garden also on the west end. I think purely standing room. They did a beer garden at the Test on the west end, so I think you can definitely do standing room only. Like that is deluxe. Like you buy tickets to go to that beer garden for standing room only. But the way it's set up, you like go down to your seat, so you could do like railing and have standing room only tickets probably.
That'd be nice.
Sorry, Dan.
I was just saying that'd be nice. That's really
So Infinity Park, if anybody saw the stream, the side where the players are, like up a couple rows, there's like a field plaza where like they have the sevens teams warm up whenever they have the sevens tournament there. And then there's also there's the weird corner where it kind of like juts out like 5 meters before the try line. Well, it's because it's connected to the firehouse, the Glendale Firehouse, and up above, right above the entrance, there's like a plaza type of thing, and they're selling season tickets there. So.
Oh, okay.
Well, so thanks for telling us this now, Josh.
Maybe that explains this.
Yeah. I don't know if San Diego's going to do that though, because I do remember them saying that. I think at least I don't know how the beer gardens work, but at least one of the beer gardens was specifically like a VIP entry thing.
So one of the beer gardens, I'm not sure which one is. I think it is definitely for VIP. So it might be the far one. I think. I don't know.
We need more beer gardens.
We'll find out. Beer gardens are awesome. I think if what they needed, the way it's set up on the east end, it's kind of sucks because you can't put the beer garden right where the railing is because you have to get to your seats, right? But that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
I would just I'm going to bring college into this for a second, but I'd just say I hope teams don't do what Colorado State did. So they opened their new stadium this past season, and they have an outdoor club and the north end is like a beer garden. But it's an addition to your season ticket. It isn't a separate ticket.
What?
Yeah.
Well, let's just not have seat licenses like they do in the NFL. All right.
Yeah. So you have to pay extra to get to the actual beer garden at Colorado State.
It was $200 extra per ticket into it for the beer garden, and then it was $400 for the field level club.
Damn it!
In addition to your season ticket, and then that had a donation if depending on what section you were in.
Dude, what the heck?
Oh man, that's crazy.
Dude, that's freaking ridiculous.
And hey, most of those might be going away now because they're no longer tax deductible. So.
Oh yeah, that's funny. So.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So going on to my points regarding this. So of course, as the league and the game get bigger in popularity, I expect that these teams obviously will grow those venues and would eventually expand, of course. So as it stands now, obviously Glendale might bring the bigger or larger crowds because of how long they've been around in comparison to other teams, of course. But then you got Utah that broke records, Houston that broke records as well in terms of attendance. So, of course, they may push Glendale from that, but we'll see. Now, the ones I could see sort of struggling a little bit, NOLA and Austin. Because, of course, they're not particularly huge sports towns. Well, NOLA more than Austin, obviously. Austin, as you know, is the biggest city that doesn't have a professional team. Well, that's not the case anymore. But
Texas Longhorns.
Okay, I guess if you want to count that as
So
professional.
for the game for the Austin Blacks Huns game, they routinely get over 1,000 people. For an amateur game last year, I think they had almost 2,000 people at it, which of course had conference and playoff implications, but they get a really good crowd for that rivalry.
But that's a rivalry built up through the clubs.
But the point
being tied to the clubs is a lot different than
I don't really.
You don't care about that?
No,
Yeah,
I don't.
I don't get
no, it
technicalities.
doesn't. The point is, you advertise. There are enough. When you do your advertising, there's enough rugby people in that town to, get to an average of 2,000.
Well, yeah, there's definitely enough people. I'm not saying that they wouldn't go out. It's just that the biggest draw for them is that it's with their club, supporting their club specifically. They don't have the same ties to a professional team. I'm not saying they wouldn't show up.
So was it the first game they had against San Diego, which my in-laws went to, they're thinking about getting season tickets. Actually, I was like, wow. Yes,
that's great
conversion.
That's right.
But they had about 600 for something that was free, and people talk about like what you value, right? And in Glendale, that game that was free, Josh, you had about 2,000 people, right?
I'd say about 2,000, 2,500.
Yeah, so depending on where you are, people value things that you have to pay for some reason versus, free. Like, if you're going to tell me I can go to a professional game that's exhibition for free, why not? But, I don't know. People tend to value things they have to pay for more.
Yeah, because they pay for it, so then they're actually going to show up. Whereas if they don't really know it and someone's like, yeah, you should come, it's free, like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just forget about it and mow the lawn or something like that.
That's right.
The weather for the last one was apparently garbage.
Shovel snow then.
So I had there's a picture of, I think Grant posted on his Facebook. There's a picture of him calling the games at for the Red River Rugby Championship on last Saturday, and he's like sitting there, in a big jacket and like a couple of blankets. It was bad.
Probably like 52 degrees.
Wow, 52 degrees.
No, I'm not saying it was. I'm just saying.
I was gonna say
I can't handle the cold.
So, I think. So, where are you thinking this could drive expansion, Dan?
I was thinking about this recently, and I really don't want to get ahead of myself because the league hasn't started yet. So I'm not going to say, oh, great, they're going to NFL stadiums next year because it's going to be that popular, because it's not. But I'm wondering, first of all, assuming that MLR is at least mildly successful, maybe even following the same vein as MLS, I wonder how long it takes for them to first upgrade to bigger stadiums. I know some of them do have plans to build something, but some of them may look to share like an MLS stadium or something like that. Maybe Rio Tinto for Utah.
Yeah.
So I do wonder, first of all, how long it would take for them to upgrade to a larger stadium, 10, 15,000, or sharing an MLS stadium or something like that. Second thing, I wonder if there's the possibility for them to start playing one or maybe two games, make it a big thing at an MLS stadium in the first couple of years. Like do something like Utah did, where they can go for one game against a big rival or playoff implications or something like that, and sort of make it like, what was it called? The big one in Newcastle? They tried to put on this really big event.
You mean the one where Newcastle Falcons play in St. James Park, where Newcastle United plays?
Yeah, that one.
And dang it, who they played?
I'm assuming an English team of some sort.
Oh, of course.
Well, they did that, and they also had one at I think it was either Twickenham or it was West Ham Stadium.
They had
London Stadium.
Newcastle had a game at Newcastle United this year. They sold.
That's the one we're talking about.
We literally just said that.
Well, I don't know if it was called the big one. I just know that they were in prison stripes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that is the look of the
it's like a prison up there.
Newcastle United.
But they sold, I think it was like 38,000 tickets for that game or something like that.
Yeah. So something along the lines of that, not to go too off tangent, but basically something like that. Just do one big game.
I think this year, at least for Utah, is going to be interesting because they had over 9,000 people go to their first preseason game, and then the second preseason game, because of the weather, obviously. So they sold 7,500 tickets, and only just under 5,000 people showed up because it was bad, apparently.
And it's not the best place to bring your 15 kids to game to.
So I think next year, this year for Utah will be interesting. And if they could get their scrum figured out, they might have to move the championship game from San Diego to Rio Tinto because they'll if in Utah, if they're in the finals, they can load that thing up.
Oh, easily. And that's what I really love about Utah compared to all these other areas. Even though they do have the Jazz and I don't know if they have any other sports teams.
Real Salt Lake.
Real Salt Lake. Yeah, MLS, whatever. It's not really known for like a big sports market. Like the Jazz go there and it's like, people, I forget who it was. I think it was the Warriors when they went to play against the Jazz in the playoffs. And they're like, well, Utah's not the best party place, so whatever. But this is something that's really like a Utah kind of culture thing with all the Pacific Islanders and with Mormons, kind of everything together, and BYU right there. I'm really excited for them. They're my team this year. That's what I gotta say.
But,
well, I think Glendale would have to move to Dick's Sporting Goods just because there is no room to expand Infinity Park. Well, literally in the middle of the city.
So I think you could. If things changed. Yeah. Well, so what's on the backside of the I guess the visitor side stands?
The hard camera side, like where the camera is. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I guess not.
So not where the players sit.
Well, not so. There's the home side where all the buildings are.
So let me just describe.
So there's there's Firehouse side, and then there's the other one.
The other side is where all their meeting rooms are, like the ballrooms and the bar and stuff. They literally cannot move anything from over there.
So like you have the side with the buildings, and then you have the side with not the buildings. What is behind those?
So let me clarify. The Firehouse and the buildings are on opposite sides.
Okay, because
the Firehouse is in the corner, the police is right next to it, and that's the general city building there on the other side.
So I look at the field, and one side doesn't have structure behind it.
Yeah, there's half of it doesn't. Like 3/4 of it doesn't. It's a plaza, pretty much.
Okay, because what I'm saying is like that would be the one area you could expand. You could yank out that entire grandstand and put a double decker. So, moving on, guys. What do you think about on-field success? How would you define that?
And by on-field success, you mean just overall success from the league or on-field success from specific teams?
So this is on-field success from the league, what that means for the national team, things like that.
So I've got at least three I can think of off the top of my head, which I conveniently wrote down. First one, providing high-performance setup for players that really wasn't available before. Obviously, the best opportunity for a lot of people were club rugby. Some people did move for club rugby, but at the same time, a lot of people didn't because it doesn't make sense to, really, upend your life just to move for rugby and not even get paid for it. So providing an outlet for a lot of players who haven't played professionally before. Second I have is uncovering hidden gems in the USA rugby landscape. Same thing as before. Players may not have just had that opportunity to really show what they have. Even for example, in pro, Sebastian Cohn was the MVP, someone I've never heard of before. I don't think many people really heard of before either, and is now actually eligible, I think, to be an Eagle.
He is.
He is.
In November.
He is eligible, and he's made it clear that that's what he wants to do. Third one, which I think is overall really important, is creating name recognition for casual fans. So we all know the Eagles and most of their potential call-ups because we follow this a lot. Obviously, we have a podcast talking about this, but the casual fan isn't really aware. They may know one or two players because they recognize them. I was like, oh, there's that big guy. I really like him. But to be able to have, these athletes, as people always say, like the posters on the wall and stuff like that, throw those Houston Sabercats birthday parties or something like that, just for the casual fan to be able to turn this on and say, oh, Cam Dolan, I love him. He's my favorite player. Or same thing for all these others.
So one of the things that I think needs to matter is that just by force of will, we eliminate club rugby from the pool to the Eagles. There are guys currently that went back to amateur teams, specifically in the PRP, that are playing in the PRP and not with the MLR. And I think this, partial daily training environment, that they're practicing 20 hours a week and working out and all that stuff, is much more than your 2 practices a week for club rugby. And, it eliminates amateur players from receiving a call up to the Eagles, just because of the form you're going to be in. That's one of the things I look at. And then, Dan, you talked about, I guess name recognition. So I've started seeing in the Premiership this year, which is abnormal from last year and the year, I think, obviously the years before, is that teams are starting to put names on the back of jerseys.
Yeah, I saw that most rugby clubs don't really do that, and also because a lot of rugby clubs share the jerseys and don't even wear the proper numbers.
Yeah, so I think for this, if the X-Blades kit deal is that awesome, you heat press names on the back of jerseys before every game once your selections have been made. For the first,
I like that idea.
I noticed that on the bench players, they don't put the names on their jerseys.
Mm-hmm. Saracens does, but it's usually rare that they put them on their bench players.
Apparently, well, I haven't seen it on bench players. I've seen it Exeter, Saracens, not Bath,
Gloucester,
Worcester. I've seen it. So I want to say about at least half the teams are starting to put names on the back of the jerseys for the starting 15.
That is
so
true.
I think that's one of the things. And then, all these guys in this high performance environment, what kind of quality that will actually give towards the Eagles in June. I didn't really expect there to be much because I don't want to think originally. I didn't think it was going to be that much of a change. Like the real fruit would be our warm-up campaign for the World Cup in 2019. But I'm starting to think that, this is going to change a lot of what we do going into June.
I agree 100% with that because it would force the national selectors to grab players that are in a professional environment, especially if those players are here stateside. So there's no need really to going into, like, say, pick up a guy playing in the Pacific Rugby Premiership or the American Rugby Premiership for that matter. So those 7 teams right there, 8 teams if you count Rugby United New York, rather you grab a couple of those, put them on the U.S. team, and start building from there. And just talking in general, guys, about this point regarding regarding on-field success. Besides obviously increasing the level of play for the national team, it is my personal hope that the casual sports fan and those new to the game of rugby union will come to learn some of the names of the players in the national teams. Because one of the sentences I hate to hear the most is what people tell me, or when I tell them that I happen to be a rugby fan, and they say, "Oh, I didn't know we have a national rugby team," and that annoys me to no end. But that's just me. Now, but yes, there should be the last time that we hear from amateur players playing for the U.S., but we'll see. And by the way, speaking of which, what are players doing during the off season of MLR? Because always it's a long wait until January 2019, or is there something happening in the autumn that we know of?
Well, I mean, what are players doing? There's going to be, from what I've seen, is there's going to be a structured off season. So we'll probably get 3 to 4 months after July. Once the final hits, you'll probably get 2 to 3 months of time off. And, within that, you'll have structured workouts that I would say, look at the NFL offseason, and that would be what I think is the prototypical offseason. And then they'll start, I think they'll start camp pretty early. So probably, 2 weeks into October. So I guess, let's say 3 months, you'll have an 3 months of an off season, and then 2 weeks into October, around the time Eagle call-ups should be, is when guys will start coming into camp, and then you'll break for Thanksgiving and come back in for 3 weeks before Christmas, and then start it up in January. And I don't know, they might start playing in February next year.
If there's 10 or 11 teams, I wouldn't put it past them, especially if the first year is successful. I mean, they're obviously keeping it simple because they don't want to overdo it in the first year. That's just a smart strategy. But I can definitely see it expanding next year, even if there weren't more teams, just adding even 2 more weeks. Because right now they're only playing 8 games each. It's a very limited schedule. But on that, for the off season, do you think that they would release the players to go back to some of their clubs? Because they have made that clear that they would do that this year for guys who are kind of on the bubble for the roster, but that's different than the entire club.
I think I think they're going to do that in season because you need your guys playing rugby, right? But I don't think they're going to do that in the off season because you want your guys being healthy for you. And one of the reasons why is I learned from. So last week I was on a conference call, I guess virtual press conference, call it what it is, with Alexander Magleby, the high performance director. So under Regulation 4, contracted players receive specific protections, and the teams receive specific protections for contracting players. So if players are under contract, not every amateur club in the country is going to be able to compensate a professional club if one of those players gets injured while playing for them, which I found very interesting because that's like a big deal.
Changes the landscape a bit then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good to keep in mind for moving forward, but I'm kind of indifferent either way. I think it'd be kind of cool to see them go back with the clubs, but at the same time, I feel like it would just push all the players who've been playing with the clubs and can actually commit to the clubs and will stay with the clubs when they actually go on to the playoffs, and then those professional players would just kind of leave and then just throw them back into there. So I don't think it really makes a ton of sense to do that. So it's I don't know. It's something interesting to look into.
And by the way, guys, quickly going back to the topic of venues, it's also better to start with smaller venues because when you have the broadcast, it will look a lot better on camera when it looks full. So even if you don't have that many people, it looks full for the television viewing audience. It looks a lot better, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
So, moving, to the next topic. So, what are you guys thinking about television audiences? I really don't know what to think about for this.
Was that funny, Victor?
Yeah, because of my last point, and then we jump into this. So that's what I say. Kind of funny.
just laughing at a joke in your head from hours ago, confusing us here.
Very much. Very much.
I mean, I think television numbers will be good. I don't have a number because I don't know jack about broadcasting. But I think overall it'll be good because they hit really 3 of the major pillars that you need for a league. The national cable, the national over-the-top, and local cable. And this is actually not me just saying that because I like to make nice things up about MLR. This is something that I think it's Ben Fisher from Sports Business Journal. He actually specifically said that in response. He goes, "It's very nice to see this from a new league. These are the 3 things you want to see. These 3 kinds of deals, and that's what you need to really grow a league. Otherwise, you'll get some random website or AOL.com or something like that."
I like that one.
Yeah.
So, Josh, you have some ideas. Well,
Yeah,
actually, you have an inkling of numbers specifically.
Yeah, so I couldn't find recent data, but I did find some data from 2016 and from 2017. In 26, this is for NBC Sports, so take that NBC Sports is probably in more homes than CBS Sports is. But in 2016, with the Vegas stop in the World Series 7 series, one of their Sunday showings, they drew 745,000 people in that 1 hour.
Oh wow!
They had 3 other slots that drew 160,000, 135,000, and 101,000 people. And then this past year, they had there was a weekend of the Viva Premiership games, one on Friday, one on Saturday, and one on Sunday. They drew 18,000 for the one on Friday, which I actually think is pretty good because it's Friday at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, it was at lunch.
Yeah. They had 47,000 watch on Sunday, and they had 75,000 watch on Saturday. So realistically, I think the league could shoot for 50.
That's really good to know. Specifically, I really had no clue where I was going with my numbers. So could the league get, say, a 20K range? Is 20,000 a game killing it? I mean, well, maybe
I'd
not.
say that's minimum.
Because so Utah's first broadcast had over 1,000 live on Facebook and over 1,000 live on YouTube. So 20 is, you think, is the baseline?
I would say so.
Sure. Like I said, I don't know anything about numbers and broadcasting, so I'm going to go with what you guys said because you brought up facts. And that beats my know-nothingness.
Now, going onto my point, guys. So what I think is that Major League Rugby, where I think they're going to succeed in terms of viewers, is through online views. With millennial fans from the U.S. and around the world. So that's the thing. People say television is dead, but it still has its place. But obviously, internet is going to be killing it anyway. So in terms of...
It's still television.
Of course.
It's just a different cord.
Of course, definitely. But as more people cut that cord and they go straight to the internet, you get, again, very different viewing audience from those that have remained to be attached to the cord, so to speak. Now, in terms of television numbers, because I'll be honest with you guys, I also do not know what is bad numbers or good numbers. But let's say 20,000 viewers sounds above the right line for the U.S. currently. But I hope I'm wrong because that number obviously sounds too small in comparison to the numbers that we just heard from Josh. So I really do not know in terms of those numbers, at least. But I do hope it's way better than 20,000 that what I'm assuming right now.
I wonder how many will be foreign as opposed to based here in the US.
Yeah. Well, based on what we know it would be interesting to see what those breakdown numbers are for foreign viewership when that gets announced.
Well, we know there is interest just because we constantly have questions of like, when are we getting international broadcasting?
Soon.
Soon.
Wait till the season starts, and we'll definitely know. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So, all right. So 20 to 30K would be nice. All right. Okay. So Josh says 50K per game. Is that?
I think that would be killing it.
Yeah.
20 to 30 is probably realistic, but I think 50 would be killing it.
That'd be dope, right there.
Sure.
So moving forward, preseason preview. So what did you guys put in the poll? Because this is what I got. I think Corey can keep me honest. I'm pretty sure I did Glendale, Houston, New Orleans, Austin, San Diego, Utah, Seattle.
Well, mine, really the first two are the only ones I feel confident about, to be perfectly honest. I messed with this so many times. But really who I have are Glendale, Houston, and then from here I have Utah, San Diego, Seattle, NOLA, and Austin. And really anyone from Utah to Austin, up or down one or two spaces, I think they can really mix a lot because it's tough to tell at that point.
Well, in terms of my numbers, guys, what I have in terms of the ladder, let's say, by the end of standings, Glendale, Houston, Utah, San Diego, NOLA, Austin, and Seattle at the end.
Yeah. What's the rationale, Dan, for having sort of Austin at the bottom? Because I mean, my rationale is basically 4 teams with scrums and a team with a bunch of forwards, but I haven't seen play yet. They didn't do what I thought they were going to do against a bottom of the table CRC team.
Yeah. You're talking about Austin?
No, Seattle.
It's Seattle.
And they don't have a coach right now.
Yeah, that's the thing where we're really like I said, at this point these can go up and down one or two. I think talent-wise, they do have a lot of Canadian internationals and signed about 60 or 70 front row forwards. Props. So I from based on that alone, I think that they have the talent. But like I said, this is the only game that we've really seen with them, and it's against a CRC team, and they won by like 40. So you can't really judge too much based off of that unless you actually specifically watch the game, which I clearly didn't.
Yeah. So we'll get an idea of how good or bad that was on Friday with Utah playing the Prairie Wolfpack. So.
It's true. Or we can tell on Saturday when Seattle actually plays. Or
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I have the same poll as Aaron. I just have Utah and Austin flipped. I have Utah 4th and Austin 6th.
So again, like for me, it's all about the scrum. And the Austin has as much scrum talent as you can have based on film from what I've seen.
Lost their starting hooker though.
Yeah, but Chris Shade he's pretty good. Not really worried about them. They've got great locks, they've got great loose forwards, and they've got some extra oomph from Pedri, you know?
If he actually plays. I mean, he'll obviously play, but how much will he play? Because he's 37 now.
To be honest, I'm sure Austin will kill me for this. I didn't think they need him to go straight up. I think they have enough back row talent that it doesn't matter.
Especially with your 8-man. I mean, he knows a lot, but that's going to wear down pretty quickly. And your 8-man is going to be one of your most physically gifted forwards that can really run the field. So it'd be tough if he's a little bit older, unless he's in great shape. I don't know. He may be in the best shape of his life.
Yeah. Corey, you have an answer for the way too early power poll.
Yeah, so I've got my picks too. I just want to jump in real quick and share them. So, I think pretty obviously Glendale is favored right now by most of us people who understand these things and are good at what they do anyway. And so I would say definitely Glendale number 1. I've got Sabercats number 2, Legion number 3. That's I think that's a little bit of a departure. I'm excited for San Diego. I think they're bringing a lot of excitement, and I think that's going to translate to success on the field. They're going to just take some energy right from their fan base and kind of the hype machine they're building out there. Then I've got number 4, I've got the Warriors from Utah. Number 5, I've got Gold. Number 6 is Austin, and number 7 is Seattle. So I'm definitely putting Seattle in last place right now just because I think they've had a lot of problems. And Austin's just had a kind of a rough preseason, so I'm putting them down at the bottom of the pack for the time being too. So, but like you said, Aaron, this is way too early, so who knows what's going to happen, first and second week.
And it's a preseason that most of us have not had a chance to actually physically see all the teams in their entirety. So that's just something I want a little disclaimer I want to put out there. So any team that I happen to put near the bottom does not hate me if I ever step foot in their city.
Hey, we just want Seattle to use this as bulletin board material. We don't, with all of the issues going on, we want them to succeed, but right now it doesn't look like it.
Much love to Seattle. They've been great to us. We want you guys to do well. We're just, I'm just calling it like I see it right now. So
going over the matches.
So let's get into matches, guys. So,
our first match preview.
So we've got game of the week, Austin at Glendale.
It's not actually first.
I was going to say the same thing.
No. It is not the first match of the week, but it is the game of the week. Therefore, it is first in our hearts.
Okay.
So let's do Austin at Glendale. What do you guys got?
Glendale by 20 for me.
15 to 20 seems about right. I
could see that. Pretty easy, to be honest.
I got Glendale by 15 points too.
I think the scrum is going to be like the parity is going to be there, but I also think with the way the systems are going in place for Austin, that Glendale's peaking right now. Like they're
ready to go.
They're ready to go. Austin is not at the same spot. So
and Glendale's also adding sprinkles onto the cake.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we'll get to that later.
Really nice sprinkles. But also it's also because it's the first real match where yes, they both had preseasons, but Glendale's had a lot more time together practicing, and that makes all the difference, especially in the first week. This is week 7. Score might be different, but I think that's a really big factor for this match coming up.
Yeah,
I kind of went the same way. I put Raptors up 32-10 over Austin. And honestly, I think it could be even worse than that. I think there's a possibility this could actually be a blowout. So
I think 32-10 is the blowout.
22-point difference. Yeah,
this is what I think is going to happen. Remember the second match against NOLA? I think they're going to be able to keep it close for about 30 minutes, and then they're going to pull or probably keep it close for the half, and then they're going to put the subs on, and Glendale's going to score, and the wheels are going to fall off.
It's going to be like 10-7 or 12-7 or something like that at the half, and then just kind of explode from there.
But Austin's talented, so if their scrum gets parity and the connection in the back line is there, it could end up not being a blowout. But I think I would go Glendale comfortably by 20.
All right.
So,
What's the second match?
moving on to are we doing? Yeah, we're doing NOLA at Sabercats.
So let me go on first on that one, guys. I got NOLA. Let me see. Actually, I got Houston over NOLA by 20.
Well, I would hope.
I have to double check. Nah, it is Houston over NOLA.
I mean, I've got Houston by 7. They played 2 against each other. I see that Josh is making faces at me when I said that. Houston beat them by a lot the first time they played them, but in the second game they tied, right? Yeah. So they tied. So I'm going to say by 7. Maybe somewhere 7 to 10, but I say 7.
I'm going a low-scoring match for this one, and I'm going to say Houston's going to win, but I'm putting it at 17-25 or 25-17 Houston.
Is that low scoring?
I think it is.
Yeah.
That's
unless
to me.
do you want to? Is it low scoring or
It's just not high scoring.
It's not high scoring. It's about medium.
Yeah, it's average.
Middle scoring.
It's low scoring.
It's just scoring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a buck the trend and go with NOLA by 2.
NOLA by 2. Are you kidding me?
Whoa.
If
you got Aaron with Houston.
NOLA has continued to raise their level.
Mm-hmm.
But we still know what you're going to say next.
I'm going Sabercats by 10.
Well, on the highest, I went by 20. Let's see.
Yeah. Victor's making the bold calls here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then we've also got Legion at Seattle this weekend, right?
Yep.
That's right.
So let's see with that one.
This one's a lot tighter. This one's a tougher one to pick.
Yeah, I agree. I actually got Legion over 20 over Seattle. So by 20.
By 20?
Actually, by 10. By 10, not by 20. I had to check.
By 20, it doesn't sound like it was a hard choice for you, Victor.
Sorry, by 10. By 10. I meant by 10. Sorry.
I think San Diego by 12, even though I did just say it's a much closer and tougher one to pick. I think San Diego by 12. I think with everything going on recently and not having a coach for the first game affects that, and having just player coaches as far as I'm concerned. Also, I think that some of the Eagles, I think all the Eagles will kick the crap out of all the Canadians that are playing for Seattle just because I'm that American. So I'm going by 12.
Yeah, I think I'm 15, San Diego. Because so granted, it wasn't the flushed out first 15 for Sabercats, but the Sabercats team is built out, has depth all over the place, and they were leading them 17-7, 54 minutes into the game. And it looked like it was going to go that way for a little while. And then Coach Fitzpatrick yells at somebody, and then, the boys just went after it and, put a knife in San Diego's heart. So, yeah. I'm going San Diego by 15 over the Seawolves, specifically because all their backroom stuff is good to go. And they have a full staff, and they'll adjust. Whereas I don't know anything about Seattle other than they added somebody last week who is an Eagle. So, spoilers. So Seattle's talented. It's going to be a tough game. But I think the connection and the systems are in place for San Diego to do what they need to do to win. But I do have concerns about San Diego's scrum unless they brought in more reinforcements for the front row.
I actually just looked this up. Fun fact, Seattle's weather for Saturday, surprising, is going to be 52 degrees and rain.
Yeah, but they're playing on turf, so...
Hey, we got 46 in snow, so...
Let's see how that affects it.
I'm going to go ahead and say San Diego 12 over Seattle. I've got it pegged at 15-3. I don't think Seattle's going to get anything going.
Wow. Yeah. I want to see that kind of defense. I want to see that happen. So
yeah.
I got the Legion by a try.
Okay.
5.
Legion by 5.
Is that 5 or 7?
Yeah,
5.
Exactly.
Converted tries by 7.
Yeah, unconverted try, exactly.
Well, with the rain, I can see that happening.
So, all right. Final game of the week is a preseason match. Utah versus the Prairie, Alberta Wolfpack. What do you guys got?
I don't know. By 50? Utah? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'll do you one better. I'll actually go 20 for that one. So
Utah by 20?
By 20. Yeah, by 20,
Utah by
20 points. By 20 points, yeah. You're just going to come out and
Dude,
destroy them.
Kidding me? What?
I am kidding you. No. Let's put it closer. 10. And then after that, when they beat them by 20 and more,
You should leave. You should leave right now. But
you're saying that Utah Warriors are going to beat a CRC team, the team that Seattle just beat, like 47-7.
By 40.
Okay. 40.
By 10.
Okay. No. Okay.
How do we mute Victor's microphone? Hold on.
I'm not joking.
So I had Utah winning, but I said by less than Seattle did.
You know, I want to see Utah do what they did in that second half against the Arrows and just dominate.
You mean just give it to the backs and let them bowling ball over the other backs?
Yeah, except that the scrum of the Wolfpack is not that good. I mean, they did send 2 players. Overall, they sent 2 players to the MLR. Mosaic Sampson went to Seattle, and Biden's is down with NOLA. So they lost their Canadian international loosehead, and they lost granted, they have Blevins and somebody else in the centers that are Canadian internationals. But I don't.
You mean Ben Lesage?
Lesage and Blevins, yeah. So, but they're the bottom of the table CRC team the last 2 years. So, I'm not.
Okay, so by 30.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna. I think the score could be relatively similar, and if they can figure out. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if their scrum just rolls over the Wolfpack.
So, in other words, you're just going to be putting a rugby clinic on display.
Just give it to Lasike, Packy, and Feitu, and just let them run.
They'll put a clinic. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It will be wide open. They won't want to tackle them. Nothing.
So for mine, I'm only giving Utah 15 points over them. I'm going to go a little conservative on this, and I'm going to assume that Utah's score is going to be a multiple of 5 because I don't think they can kick. So,
hey, they signed Kurt Morath last week.
Kurt Morath.
He might start at 10.
Hey, they officially announced that today.
Yeah, that was announced today.
Technically a player signing that we already knew about.
Well, and on that note, unless anybody else had anything else on this, I think we've got Dan. You've got some signings you want to talk about, don't you?
Yeah, I guess. There were quite a few signings that kind of, as we hinted to before, there were some sprinkles basically just put on these cakes. So I'll just run through them really quickly, and then we can all just jump in with some quick thoughts on them. So we have Cam Troxler and Brendan Falcon both signed by NOLA. Brendan, you'll recognize his last name for, because of Cam Falcon, his older brother, and Dan Falcon, his father, who is the owner, one of the part owners of NOLA. Dylan Fawcett and Sam Figg both went to Glendale. Interesting because Fawcett was practicing with Rooney here in New York. And then finally, Will Holder, Billy Tolotau, and William Rasileka to Seattle. So what do you guys think about this?
Overall, the big one is good to see Fawcett playing in the MLR this year. Mm-hmm. Willie's been a fixture with the Saracens for a while. I think he's actually helping out with coaching the team right now. Will Holder, it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to, play every game, being in the Army and being a captain now. Changes your time commitments a lot. But I think with the short season, it could get him back into Eagles, can at least invite contention, probably even if not into the camp, at least consideration for the APC in the fall. And maybe that'll get him back into consideration for the national team in November.
I'm really interested about the Dylan Fawcett signing because he was playing here, and from what we've heard, there really isn't any free agency for the first couple of years. So
yeah, I reached out to Glendale and haven't heard back about that yet. So I don't know.
Thanks for the update.
Mm-hmm. Now talking about a couple of the players, guys. Sam Figg, by the way. He comes from the Australia Sevens team. He has a long history, the guy. I was just reading up on him this morning. So he's originally from South Africa, from Johannesburg. Moved to Auckland, New Zealand when he was young. And then from there moved to North Sydney. And that's really where he started to pick up his rugby skills. He then played for one of the colleges. I'm blanking now on the name of it. Which is a sort of suburban competition, which apparently Australia has one of those. I guess suburbs are really big in Australia. And then from there, he went and played for Northern Suburbs. And then from there to the New South Wales Country Eagles in the National Rugby Championship, which is lower division Super Rugby, if you want to call it that. And then from there, Sevens, went to Japan, then Sevens again, and now goes to Glendale. So this dude has been jumping up and down. But he's definitely bringing a lot of experience, obviously, to the Glendale back section.
Well, so as far as the suburbs, like in Sydney, if you look at the Shoot Shield, those are, I would say, like apex clubs, depending on where you're at. So you have like eastern suburbs, northern suburbs. Those are, the clubs sort of on the top of like that area in the Shoot Shield competition. Mm-hmm. So you're like trying to play for eastern suburbs, or you're trying to like get promoted and earn your way onto the northern suburbs team. Mm-hmm. And then there's other teams that are not located in the suburbs that are trying to, get on, that are in the Shoot Shield.
And thank you for mentioning that, Aaron, because it just reminded me he also played for Randwick.
Yeah, so Randwick, was it Manly, are also in the Shoot Shield.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true, but I believe that's where Eddie Jones played with Michael Cheika, the coach of Australia and the coach of England. So both of them came from Randwick, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me give a shout out to America's Rugby News. They put out a fantastic article about roster updates, and they have the full rosters in a section on their website.
Yeah. So that's the most comprehensive place to see them all. They were telling them for a while. But definitely jump on that. I was actually just looking at that right now just to refresh myself because they listed all the signings of the past week or so and just kind of tying a nice little ribbon on the top of this gift that we have of MLR.
Question: where Cam Troxler coming from? I assume LSU, but let me ask.
Or LSU, I thought.
Maybe I guess he's LSU. Doesn't actually say, but he did play for USA South.
Okay, so I was right. And then Veli Tolotau, who's coming from Central Washington. Yeah. He's originally from Hawaii, from Maui. And William Rasileka, he, of course, Fijian by his last name. He comes from the Sevens team. and he's
Well,
been.
this is a fun one. Cam Troxler was also a USA Islander. I totally forgot about that.
Huh.
Really?
Interesting.
So
Which
I wonder
island?
how he qualifies. Probably the Caribbean islands. Interesting.
Maybe.
so
Maybe the
moving
Virgin
on.
Islands.
Let's hit up that tweet of the week. What do we got? This was pretty cool.
Well, we actually got tweets of the week. So 2 tweets are the Eagles head coach Gary Gold was at not 1 but 2 college games this weekend. That's a hell of a commitment because he actually had to physically fly from one to the other. So the first tweet that he had, great weekend of #college rugby. Watched Army Rugby Union versus CSU Rugby last night. Now off to Salt Lake to watch BYU Rugby versus Arkansas State Rugby. He said Arkansas by mistake. Then an exciting week as the inaugural US MLR kicks off. So that was the first one. Second one was while he was actually at the BYU game. It's like not the worst setting to watch rugby. #college D1A rugby. BYU Rugby versus Arkansas State Rugby. I mean, this is awesome. We all kind of talked about this, about how he was going to move out here and he'd be local to watch MLR games, but he's actually attending the college games too, and not just the number 1 versus number 2, and that's it. Just looking at the top, he's looking at as many teams as physically possible who are playing in the D1A playoffs, which is awesome to see that he's actually in our country. That's a huge step.
Yeah, this is awesome. Like, and it's bad that I have such low expectations about what our head coach is going to do, but I mean, I liked Mitch. I thought Mitch was, as far as coaching was concerned, part of where we're at now is because of the systems he put in place. But he spent like no time in this country. So I'm very happy to see the man going out and watching the best of collegiate rugby and scouting new players.
Yeah, it's really important when if you're trying to actually build a program in a country, especially a tier 2 country, that you don't just bring in some guy who's just going to come in, coach, and leave, because then at the end of the day, you're not really going to improve overall. I mean, in that case, he's really just looking over the Eagles, the 30 or 40 guys who are playing for them, and that's really it. But if you want someone who can come in and when the Eagles aren't playing, first of all, can look to make sure that he gets the best possible players and not really, as far as I'm concerned, he had to really take a lot of recommendations from people who were based in the U.S. if he didn't actually physically watch them play for the Eagles. I'm talking about Mitch. So with Gold here now in the U.S., he can see these players playing for college, playing for MLR, playing for local clubs, really whatever, and he can make his own decisions. And maybe he sees a guy and says, hey, that guy, I need to give some extra looks to him.
So
Really
yeah,
cool.
I thought that was awesome. It's great about building a program, and this guy who I wish I had gone to the NDS now, because everyone who talks about his presentation, you just wanted to run through a wall for that guy, or even better, climb over the wall for that guy. And it's really great to see that the national team coach is going out and watching the best of what American rugby has
and promoting it, and actually giving some promotion to it too.
So moving forward, we've got some trending topics, Josh.
Yeah, we got a special project we're working on with some of the other rugby media people in America. This Friday, we'll release can we call it league sanctioned?
I wouldn't call it league sanctioned. I would say as a group, we decided to consolidate the media and create a MLR writers poll.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I think the league has been encouraging of I wouldn't say sanction. They're not sanctioning and saying, hey, do all this stuff for us. But I think they've been very encouraging of what the media has done to promote the league so far, and I think this will fit right in there. And maybe we'll have to pay dues or something to build out an actual association. But yeah, MLR Writers Poll, that'll be awesome. So moving forward to views, news, and abuse, guys. This was an interesting week. Ontario Arrows joined forces with Hurricanes of Super Rugby. That was kind of a cool rollout. The Hurricanes put out a video. I forget who the three All Blacks were, but one of them was TJ Perenara was in there, and they were like, "Good luck to the Ontario Arrows as you face New York." That was cool.
They specifically said "Go the Arrows," which I thought was really strange.
The sound is so uninvolved.
Go the Arrows.
Go the Arrows. I'm doing this for the money. That's how it sounds.
ESPN Plus is now live, and it's also live on Roku, so I will be able to watch it on my massive television. That'll be cool.
That's what everyone was really concerned about.
Good for you. Yeah.
I'm glad that everyone was so concerned for me.
I can take down the change competition.
But if you sign up by Wednesday, you get a 30-day free trial. It's $4.99 a month after that. And it's not just rugby. You're not just signing up for rugby like you are with NBC. You are signing up for tons of content. So this is going to be awesome. Austin officially made their move to Round Rock. They are bringing in 2,200 seats to bring up their capacity to 2,800. And in fact, they have 2 sets of goals posts that are going to be going in. So they have a backup set in case they have lightning occurring. The Arrows versus Rugby United New York was canceled due to some insane weather. York University shut down operations. The teams were still going to try and give it a go, but it was made so that fans couldn't attend. I think the teams were going to be the only ones at York University, and then York University shut that down. So the Seawolves defeated the Prairie Wolfpack 47-7 in a close scrimmage in Seattle. And MLR games will be streamed internationally, both live and on demand, either by the individual teams or the league itself. The platform is currently being worked out, but we should know before Friday how international viewers will be able to watch.
Now, going on to the Arrows Rooney point, the funny thing is that, and Daniel can vouch for me on this, Saturday in New York City was probably our best day so far this year in terms of weather.
Absolutely.
It felt like 80, wasn't it, Dan?
Yep.
And then when I get the news like, oh, the Arrows Rooney is canceled due to weather, and I said, wait a minute, weather? So apparently they had freezing rain in Toronto. So the field was iced. So obviously when you're tackling someone that fall on ice, that's not fun. So they had to again cancel the game. So if they would have moved it to New York instead of being the New York match first up in Iona, it would have been a lot better. So that's a funny thing.
Could be fun to tackle on ice.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're telling me they should have played rugby on ice skates?
Ice rugby. I think that's called hockey, isn't it?
That is called hockey. That is true.
I also wouldn't want the New York guys to play against a bunch of Canadians on skates. I think that'd be a match made in hell.
Yeah, it would be impossible to scrum on ice because everyone would be sliding. If you really think about it,
it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Coming next year, after Super Sevens, we have ice rugby.
That's right.
Hey, we already have Murder Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's going to be all available on ESPN 8. The Ocho.
El Ocho. I like that. Forget about 3.
Bold strategy, Bob. Let's just see how it works out.
4 through 7. Forget about it. Los 3 el 8. I like that.
Hey guys, I've got some questions for you.
All right,
Yeah, Bob.
let's hit it up.
You ready for it? All right. So we got a couple of them from Bob B. Boberson this week. And as always, I just want to remind everybody that we collect questions every week from our Reddit page, and that's reddit.com/r/mlrugby. So go there and check it out. And this week, Bob B. Boberson asked, what are your score predictions for the first week of games? Well, Bob, go ahead and just rewind the tape a little bit, and you'll find out. Anything to add to that?
We talked about it, so nope, all good.
Okay. Will you be nominating a man of the week on next week's show?
That's a good idea. A man of the match. Man of the
I don't think we'd really talked about it.
I mean, I think we could probably do.
Yeah, player of the week.
Yeah. Sounds like a great idea, Bob. Thanks.
Stealing that.
Yep. I'm not sure it can be counted as stealing if he literally asked us if we were going to do it or not.
Taking full credit for it.
We thought about it yesterday. We just forgot.
Yeah. We'll call it Bob's player of the match. And
sponsored by Bob.
Yeah, sponsored by Bob B. Boberson.
So should we do one for the whole week or one for each match?
I'd say one a week.
Just one a week. 1 a week.
We'll probably, knowing us, we'll probably end up talking about 5 or 6 players, though. So
yeah,
I think we'll cover that pretty well.
All right, moving on. Friend of the show, possible intern, Liam sent in a question via YouTube, and as always, when we're live on the pod, you guys can jump in with your questions and comments, and we'll look at those and once in a while respond. So Liam asks, considering the Tony Healy situation out of Seattle, how does this situation affect the team going into the season?
So Phil Mack, scrum half, he's a monster apparently. According to, I mean, I've seen him play for the Canadian national team, and he's ridiculous. He is a rugby coach. He coaches Thunder Rugby, which is an indigenous team on Vancouver Island. So the difference is like coaching a professional, being the head coach of a professional team, and somehow also trying to be scrum half at the same time gets difficult. But he can coach the team, and he also played for Tony Healy at James Bay. So overall, I mean, at James Bay and with the Bears, so I would say he knows the systems that were in place. The issue comes into if they do get their coaching situation figured out, will that coach want to install a different system?
Yeah, I think that's really the biggest question because not to diminish the role of a coach, but overall at this point, right before the first match, I don't know how much the coach would actually really do. On the actual field, it's not like a football coach where they're calling plays every single second. It's really the players take over a lot from there. So I think that for at least for the first match or two, it shouldn't have as big of an impact as you'd think. But I think the real issue would be if a new coach comes in and philosophically different, then changing halfway through the season just kind of messes everything up. And you really don't want to see that for the first season of a league. Even if they just continue doing what they're doing for the first season and completely change things next.
So, next guy.
Yeah. So, friend of the show, possible co-host, Kra4Yol4 ask, any chance that Serevi will be taking over Seattle?
Will Baisale Serevi take over Seattle? I mean, he coached Fiji Sevens for a little while. I don't know him for his 15s acumen. He is an amazing Sevens coach. That's a fact. The teams he has coached to in Club 7's nationals are crazy. Like, they are always good. Whether it's because you need more than just talent to win Club 7's nationals. He's that kind of coach. But could he? It's possible. It just depends if he gets. I know that he was assisting the team when they did their combines with Tony Healy, so I think he was probably. I think he's involved. I just don't know to what extent.
Yeah, he's also. I mean, he was a 15th player. He's just obviously known for what he did as a 7th player, and he is linked up with Atavis, so I'm sure that something will come out from that. I mean, I'm not saying I'll be Serevi.
There's a possibility that he could become a backs coach for Seattle.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was the backs coach at the time.
There you go. I wouldn't be surprised either.
I just know I know he's involved. I know he's around. I don't know what his role is. I should probably ask that question.
But honestly, also going back to what we were saying before, you don't really want to see a switch in the middle of the first season. So if we can have essentially an interim head coach for the rest of the year, as long as that person is able to actually implement the system as is, and someone like Serevi could be great. He could just be the person who they look to. Obviously, they would respect him because he's a very well-known, very well-respected former rugby player and coach. So he'd be a great possibility, even as just an interim head coach.
Yeah. So what was the other question?
Yeah. Josh also had a great question, and I actually think this could be a lot of fun to talk through. He was wondering what rivalries will form throughout the season and into the future in MLR.
So instantly we have NOLA Austin and NOLA Houston, and I think Houston and Austin is going to be some intense rivalry.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Those three down there are all going to be connected.
That's gonna be some crazy stuff right there. And then I want to say Legion, Utah. I don't really know.
I'd say Legion, Seattle.
Yeah, so do I. I would say that one too.
It's closer to Salt Lake than it is to Seattle, by the way.
I know, but you figured Utah would be more. I guess you can have more than one. I figured Utah would be more a natural rival for Glendale.
Yeah, because that would be North Pacific versus South Pacific in terms of the coast.
Well, I think you're gonna have that coastal rivalry.
And then obviously once Rooney comes in, it will be Rooney San Diego because East Coast West Coast.
I don't know how much the US rivalry.
Well, I think it could be like a rivalry because of all those old blue players that went to San Diego and no free agency. So
that's true.
Well, hey, I mean, just take what you got right now, and I mean, you can name all three. You could have the Pacific rivalry, the Rocky Mountain rivalry, and you could have the Gulf rivalry.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, and I think
let's call it the barbecue rivalry.
Hey, you need Kansas City for that.
Yeah.
Next year. Yeah, what's a Blues Jordan? I like that.
That was something I really.
Even Jones, the Kansas City thing is going to happen.
Yeah, Stephen Jones. But that was actually the first thing I was disappointed about when I heard Kansas City wasn't going to do it this year, and we don't know what they're going to do. Is I wanted to see like a tailgate between Houston and Kansas City and have just a barbecue off. Just two sides fight at it. Doesn't matter who wins the actual match. The match in the parking lot is what's going to really matter to these guys.
Yep. As long as the barbecue's in the house, that's all that matters. I like that.
All I was going to say on this topic is I think a lot will help, or getting more teams and getting broken out into conferences will help a lot with rivalries as well, because it would be natural to have inter-conference rivalries as opposed to cross-country rivalries in my head. You know, of course, most of my experience comes from college sports just because that's what's big here in Iowa. And so we have cross-border rivals is all of our big stuff. You know, it's always Iowa versus Minnesota or Wisconsin for the big football games every year. So
I think it would be played off existing rivalries too, because I mean, like I know Liam's currently watching this. I hate Boston. I hate everything Boston. I hate everything Philly. I can't really help that. So
everything Washington D.C.
So that was a question. So is Boston going to get a team next year?
Oh man, cross my fingers. I do. I really want them to.
I don't think so.
I would love to see it because, like I said, I hate Boston.
I think the rivalry aspect would help. However, the cards don't look like Boston is ready for 2019. Granted, we're about 6 months away from the 2019 league year, so we could see something shift. But for some reason, James Kennedy, in every interview he's on, he talks about DC. So,
it's a possibility.
It's a possibility. I would like to see Chicago.
Likewise.
Because the Lions were supposed to be in it, and
so much Chicago.
They're financially viable as an organization. The whole thing, they're a financially viable organization. So, I don't know. I think Chicago is a necessary market, and then DC and Boston are probably necessary markets. But they said 10, and we're sort of sure on Dallas right now, and that's the flavor of the week. We're sort of sure on Dallas.
They're the loudest, so you kind of have to accept that for what we have.
Yeah.
All right, last question of the night, and then I think we can go home.
We are home.
This is I'm not home. I record my portions of the show in a basement bunker just in case the government comes after me.
You're home.
Typical Iowa.
So you are home.
Yeah. Okay, last question of the night. This is a very serious one.
No, it's not.
I want to know, and I have a very strong opinion on this, who is the best looking member of the Earful of Dirt crew?
I think
do we have to vote for other people, or can we vote for ourselves?
I think we can vote for ourselves.
You know we're all voting for ourselves.
No. Let's vote. Let's vote for each other, guys. I'll start first. Personally, no lie, I think, and probably because it's fellow New Yorker, I go with Daniel personally.
I feel really creeped out right now.
Don't feel creeped out, dude. You're an attractive
no
man.
homo, of course, no homo. Can't forget to say that.
It's not deniable.
No homo.
All right, Victor. Hey, Victor.
Yes. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Short and sweet.
Yeah. You got any final thoughts for us, my friend?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we're still talking about this.
Oh, I'm going to move us on from that.
Okay.
Final thoughts on something else.
I'm the only one who said anything. No one else is saying anything. That's horrible. No, we're all serious, guys. So first of all, thank you all for joining us for episode 32. Yes, sorry, because I almost forgot my numbers of the Earful of Dirt Rugby podcast. Thank you for joining us on our YouTube live stream. If you're here listening to this right now, live that is. If you're listening to the podcast purchase, that's whatever. But if you are, make sure to, of course, listen to us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Opera FM, of course, SoundCloud. Make sure to like us, of course, on our social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Earful of Dirt. And make sure to call us on our voicemail, which is 1-720-600-2679. Make sure to call us on the number and leave us a voicemail, excuse me. And again, the number is 1-720-600-2679. We definitely want to check out those voicemails because, again, we already got a review. We want to hear one of your voices as well. Okay, guys, so with that said, thank you very much for joining us. Once again, Victor's my name. That was Aaron. That was Dan. That was Josh. That was Corey. And we'll be seeing you next week with what happened in round 1 of Major League Rugby. Can't wait for that.